Call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the approval of the minutes from November 17th. Are there any questions? If not, do we have a motion to accept them as submitted?
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Once again, in light of Executive Order 202.1, in-person attendance at public meetings is suspended until further notice. Should anyone wish to make public comment, they may do so by emailing boe@waltoncsd.org or by calling the district clerk at 607-865-4116, extension 6130. Number 4, we are up to discussion items. The policy committee met on Tuesday, November 24th, and that is bringing forward first reading policies tonight. Correct. And then a reminder that we have a Board of Education retreat at 5:30 on Monday, December 7th. And that will be here in this boardroom? Mm-hmm. Okay. And we need to schedule a facilities committee meeting during the last week of December or early January at 5 p.m. in order to review the RFPs. And it looks like the goal is to have it on January 9th. Oh no, goal is to award it on January 19th. So has anyone forwarded any dates available to you, or?
I didn't.
I could send out an email asking for dates.
You have, is there any day that doesn't work for you? For either of you?
The 28th is not a good day for me.
25th doesn't work for me.
No, right. Actually, I'm just wondering if we are better off shooting for like the 3rd through that week, or the 4th, that week of
Yeah.
January.
Okay.
That way we're not trying to get in the middle of the holidays, so at least we're after New Year's, if we could do something that week.
Okay.
Right.
So we have a board meeting on the 5th.
Question would be, the facilities committee is going to take the RFPs without cost. We're having them put those in a sealed envelope. We're looking at just what they're bringing to the table and making a determination of the finalists. And then bringing the finalists, inviting the whole board, inviting them to come in and do their proposal for us and make a final decision. Correct? That's what we had talked about.
Correct.
So just keeping that in mind, I don't think that second meeting in January is, that's what we hoped to reach, but it's not necessarily a hard date for any
That's
purpose.
the date that Meg gave me. I don't
Right.
know.
So if we ended up having to push to the first meeting of February for appointment approval, I think we'd be okay. So just to keep that in mind as we're deciding here. Because so we've got those 2 events, and I don't know if we want to have, we'll know when we look at it as facilities committee, we have 2 or 3 finalists proposals we can cap. We say you got 20 minutes, you got 30 minutes, whatever we want, and we can control the length of our meeting with board meeting. I don't know if you want a special meeting, if you want to do it in an executive session at the 5th or the 19th. So I just bring that up because we've got to kind of have take all that into account as we process.
I think if you kept with that schedule and you said you had that on the 19th, you gave us the 5th, even if, well, I mean, if we could get them last week in December and review them independently and then come to a meeting on the 5th.
Well, the 5th, we're already having a board meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They're
we
due
would
the
have to-
22nd, so we will have the RFPs at the end of the day on the 22nd. So that's the deadline.
On the 22nd.
So from there out.
Yeah. I'm just saying from
whatever we
finances,
want to
or
do.
from facilities, we could probably have those reviewed and meet on the 5th and be pretty productive. If you want to meet before the board meeting. And then I would have the board meeting, on the 19th, review what our findings are, so it doesn't have to be the 5th.
Thank you.
We can push it off.
Have them come in on the 19th
Yeah,
to the executive session.
After the board
proposals?
meeting?
yeah, and then you could award on the first week in February.
The
Okay.
only, the
With
only,
the
cons-
holidays, that might
So
be a
we'll
better
do a
time.
light, we'll do a light meeting.
'cause the only thing that would concern me on the
ninth or
5th,
Yeah,
the only thing that concerns me ever about meeting before the board meeting is we're on a timetable, so that eliminates any, if we get into any real discussion, you can't, because we have to be done by a time.
So either 4th, 5th, or 6th are probably good for me. We don't have to, if you wanna skip the 5th.
What about you, Miranda?
Thank you, Rhonda. Either probably any of those days will work for me.
4th, 5th, or 6th?
Mhm.
And that will be,
at 5 o'clock? Does that work for everyone?
5 o'clock works for me.
So do you wanna do the 4th, and then if we get through it, we could bring something to the board the next day, at the 5th, for the board to discuss and give the board a little bit more, as a whole board, it would give an opportunity if we wanted to research something as an entire board.
Give them 2
If somebody
weeks.
else, it would give us 2 weeks to be able to
Prior,
still make
prior to
the,
their proposals.
I mean, if we're gonna do 2 meetings that week, we could do the Monday, Tuesday.
And then we'll set up the finalists to come in for the 19th. Adjust that meeting
Right.
appropriately.
okay, so January 4th at 5:30.
We should be able to find time between the 22nd and the 4th to have homework done, right?
Would think.
So, question, since we're here, facility, as far as the facilities members, we put the RFP, my thought would be, we take the RFPs, again, we'll keep the finance over here till we get to our final decision, that way we're looking at the worth of the job, and then we'll look at the dollar after, because that can be negotiated anyway, this isn't a bid, it's an RFP. We'll take the RFP material, put it into a Google folder, and we can link it out initially, all of them, to the facilities.
Committee.
So you can review it prior to us getting together as a committee to expedite that process and discussion. And then after we determine what the finalists are, we'll take that folder, clean it, remove the non-finalists, and then we'll send it out to the entire board, so you'll have it all at hand. I don't think there's any reason why we can't do that with a Google folder link, because we own the Google. Correct, Corey? I don't think there's any issue with that.
I think it's fine.
Okay, so that's what our process will be.
So we'll shoot for having pared down by the 5th, if we can meet on the 4th.
Right.
Okay.
That works. Thank you.
And with the time of the year that it is, Kevin, that still works for you at 5:30? That's good. I know
Today
it's
it
hit
does.
and miss. Exactly.
I mean, for me, if guys stay healthy, I'm good.
Okay.
If
Alright.
we have a issue with COVID or something else, then that could change my world, but otherwise, I don't chase the flakes, as I say, so.
All right.
So,
Facility, or Finance Committee, proposing the 13th or 14th at 5:30 in January. Pick one. Arnie,
Either should be good.
either one?
13th
Okay.
Probably be a little better,
13th, Wednesday? Great, okay.
if that works for everybody else.
13th. All right. All right, no correspondence at this time. Any additions to the agenda?
Yes, we have one addition to the agenda. It's a non-consent item. That would be item 8D. And it's a personnel unpaid leave request from David Edwards. And it was a very late addition, which is why we're having it as a non-consent item.
Okay. All right, so the consent agenda, we have the financial reports from October. We have a resignation of Katie Steinbecker, part-time school monitor. We have an unpaid leave request for Megan Loomis and Bridget Schmidt. We have appointments of Anita Craig for substitute teacher aide, substitute school monitor, and substitute bus monitor. We have the athletic recommendations. Are there any concerns? Discussion? Do we have a motion to accept the consent
One,
agenda?
one
Oh, go
question
ahead.
for you, Rhonda, before we, with, Ms. Loomis, she's also on the wellness committee, right? So that would, somebody else would get appointed to the wellness committee in that timeline,
She's
or
on
how
the
would
Health
that work?
Advisory Committee,
Or health about, yes.
right, I believe Tracy Wood is a co-chair.
Okay,
That was,
that'll be covered, okay. All right. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. New business. We have several donations. We have one musical series viola from As You Wish through the Donors Choose program to the music department. One 1,500 student 2 series violin from As You Wish through the Donors Choose program to the music department. $408 from Coughlin and Gearhart to the Forensics Speech and Debate Club to purchase trophies and medals. 75 winter hats and coupons for free items from Chobani to the Townsend Elementary School. $227.50 from the Mission and Outreach Committee of the United Presbyterian Church Peace Offerings to the Oveus program at Townsend Elementary School, and $5 from A Time to Heal to the Walton Central School District. Do we have a motion to accept those donations?
Move
Make
it.
it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Very much appreciated. That brings me, Oveus, how is that actually being handled now with like some remote and mostly high school and middle school?
Well, high school, middle school, they're doing a number of things that are homeroom. They still have homeroom, especially on Wednesday
Okay.
morning. So SEL, the various things of that nature are funneling into that initial. They're doing activities, they're showing videos, having discussions that Wednesday. Elementary is still, they're moving.
On their regular
Yeah,
schedule?
they're moving.
Okay, good. And then we have 8B, accept capital project 2020 vote results.
I'd move it.
Second,
Second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I thank everybody that came out during that weather on that day. It was very much appreciated. It was a miserable day.
Yes, it was.
All right, 8C, appointments. The ESL coordinator, Arthur Loomis, the 504 ADA officer for students, Meg Hungerford, and the testing coordinator, I don't know what the New York State Association something?
It's the alternative assessments.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our
Adam
special
Hoover.
education students who are not in line for, their skills and deficits are so low that they're not in line for the regular curriculum. So alternative assessment. These 3 items are 3 items that we've moved from the curriculum, the director of curriculum, to these individuals. They're not huge time takers. There's some knowledge and some growth there as far as learning. I will be working with them as we move through it. The ADA officer for students, Meg is already the ADA officer for staff, adults, so that kind of parallels.
Right.
And then any support needed with the students will come from whoever the administrator is. So I just wanted to give that additional info.
All right, do we have a motion to accept those appointments?
I'll make it.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then we have 8D, this is an unpaid leave of absence for David Edwards, and this is through the end of the school year. Do we have a motion to accept that unpaid?
Move it.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, policy update. We have several policies. Would you like to read them?
Yeah, for first reading here. All right. Policy number
0110, sexual harassment. It's the amendment to first reading 12-120. 0110.1, sexual harassment of students. 0110.2, sexual harassment of employees. 0110.2E, sexual harassment of employees exhibit. 0115-E, DASA compliant form exhibit. And 1120, school district records.
All right. Does anybody have any questions on them? Not, do we have a motion to accept them as the first reading?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, we are up to administrative remarks. Everybody has the supervisor's reports. Are there any questions on those?
Is everybody up to speed on the lack of attendance? Should we mention
Oh,
what we're doing that way?
no, they may not.
So, internally and tonight, we're trying to keep the supervisors and the administrators from meeting in the same space multiple times to decrease the possibility of us getting flagged as a group in a close contact situation. So when I meet with them, I'm doing it through Zoom or Google Meet, even one-on-ones. We're just, if one of us goes down, I don't want it to take down the entire district. So we're doing the same thing tonight as well as the next meeting. So the reports are very important, but if there is questions prior to, we can have that individual, either we'll have them Zoom in or have them attend to answer the questions, just to keep some distance. So it's been an adjustment for us because we usually come in here, we're socially distant, but we're not even doing that. I don't want to leave the contact tracing definition and determination in the hands of DOH if we can control our own destiny by staying apart a little bit. So that's what we're doing.
Do you want us to email questions in advance on these, if we have any?
Absolutely, as we move forward, yep. That would be wonderful.
Deadline for that, like the Monday prior?
I would say, the same thing as we release it. Same as you've had questions for me for the agenda, it'd be the same thing. And then what we'll determine is depending on the question and what that response would be from the individual, we may ask them to attend, or if it's a quick clarification, I may forward it to them and get a clarification and provide it. So depending on the need of the question, we'll assess whether or not we want them to be there, if that's agreeable.
Good plan.
Right. And even
It
as
looks
we've
like-
discussed in the past, that if we have a question, if we don't have the facts that night, we can, now that we're meeting especially twice a month, it's not that big of a lag to get an
Right,
answer
between the next
in the following meeting. I mean, it's just,
Yep.
And it looks like between the O&M staff and the transportation, it looks like everything is still on with the cleaning, disinfecting daily, twice sometimes, so
Yeah.
that's good.
Yep, and I did clarify with John today, the fence is completed behind the basketball court. The one that was, that became a very large concern after I looked at it. It wasn't as much of the look of it. There was a snow fence, Chad, for your knowledge, there was a snow fence there, and it was hanging down there to prevent the fall and prevent kids from running toward the cars. And it was down the edge. When you hammer them, they get very sharp, they get very jagged. I'm really surprised we didn't have any injuries while that was in there for all these years. So that is in. We put our personnel put the length in themselves. And the thought is, now that we've done that, that next year, we'll look in budget time to add another length with a non-locking gate so that we can actually prevent any kids from exiting into the parking lot. We can close it during recess time and just help with the assistance there with supervision. So now that we've done one length, we know how to do it. We can order another one. That costs us about $700, I believe. So we'll build it into the budget. It'll probably cost us $700 plus the gate, probably $800, probably $900. But definitely a good safety.
Now, would
measure.
that have to be a little bit bigger so the tractor or trucks can go through there yet?
Potentially.
It's a wider span.
Wire span, yeah.
double gauge or something.
Double, yeah.
All right,
we are up to
To me?
superintendent remarks.
Okay. So, a couple updates for you. Tomorrow, we'll be having the volunteer walkthrough for the prospective construction managers. We think we have 5 or 6 that will be showing up to just do the walkthrough of facilities and hear information. We're having Scott come down, he's gonna facilitate that. I'll be present, John will be present, Meg will be present, at least for part of it. And then, wherever they wanna go to see the facility for them to be able to accurately put together a proposal. So that's happening tomorrow at 3:30. If anybody's interested, more than welcome. 7-12, we're, 6th grade is now back 4 days, as we know. It's been very successful. We've been working as an administrative team, analyzing the 7-12 capacity and working through those details. Lunch, there's a lot of complication details on this, but we do feel we're going to have the ability to do some increased capacity, some increase getting kids back here to some extent. So hoping to have that plan solidified. We got to working through the verification on transportation end, working through some things with the food end, keeping the music room empty as we did was a big key for us, at least one side of it. We're working through contingencies of what happens when half the gym goes away mid-year. So we're looking at all these different scenarios, but we believe that we're pretty solid that we're going to have some increased time in person, 7 through 12. Don't know exactly what that's going to be yet. I don't want to put it out there, but hopefully by Friday I'll have that information to you, and we'll be communicating out. The goal is to have it planned on this week, communicate Friday, Monday, and then start whatever it is, not next week, but the Monday after next week. So we have this 2-week window. If we see a significant spike all of a sudden from the Thanksgiving, we can still hold back. And then if not, we get more kids on campus on that Monday. So working through it, which is terrific. We're also analyzing individual student progress, mining down the data. Been offering Wednesday tutoring for a few kids. We're increasing that, bringing them in if they need transportation one way, so you don't have to stay all day. They can then be picked up to assist with the parent guardian. And that's going to include, as we get down through the progress, I'm asking them to take a look at the full remote students. If we have full remote students who are truly academically not progressing, that are really struggling, we're going to have conversations with parents as to the reason and the basis for the full remote. We're going to put a little bit of conversation out there to say, is this really what's best for your child? What is the need? And if they have a need and it's a health need or whatever the case, vulnerable population, whatever, great. But if they don't, we need to have a heart-to-heart conversation if the child's failing 3 subjects and it's a full remote or 4 subjects or whatever's going on. So we're mining it down to that detailed data.
A question on that, because I know that last time when we had the administrative team here, we were all very pleased about how responsive they were at the elementary school to kind of tailor that educational delivery or instructional delivery to those students, understanding the constraints they had with the screen time and things like that. When the students came back in, do the remote students did they revert back to that prior instructional delivery system, or did they have a reduced capacity on screens still that we recognized as an issue in the elementary school when everyone went full remote?
That's a good question. I don't have the exact response for you on that, but I will say our numbers of remote students at the younger grade levels, which is what our concern was when they were on remote, is very, very small, which allows them to individualize. So I don't know if that's a systemic progress at this point in time, but it is individualized who's younger. I think we have 1 kindergartner, 2 second graders. So it's really the young area was what our concern was.
Right. So I'm just saying that if the parents had a strong desire to keep that child home for whatever reason,
correct,
maybe they have an at-risk, one of the 2 parents is at risk and they don't want to, introduce that to their household, well then maybe that instruction could be tailored more specifically. I'm not trying to put more on our instructional staff. I'm just saying that we recognized when we went full remote some issues with it, so that may be.
Middle high numbers, we've got about 90 kids that are full remote. And we've got a pretty good percentage of them that are struggling. So we're really trying to get to the crutch of why. And if it's not, if they're struggling across the board, when they're in-house and out-house, when they're hybrid, we can see the analysis, but when they're 100% full remote, we just need to know if they need it. We gotta help where we can help, or we gotta try to get them to try it. Even we'll do trial. We'll come back for 2 weeks. You know, just get them hooked back into the system, and maybe we can get it processed. So we're just getting down to the weeds. I'm a big data guy, as everybody knows. I downloaded the spreadsheet myself and went through it after the first 10 weeks and beat them to the punch and said, hey, look at. I driving everybody crazy, I think, with data, but that's what I do. So now we're applying the interventions to it.
Do we have the ability to see if they are just not doing well on their work, or whether they're not doing their work?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And we did offer, because you said 90, about 90 students full remote, that we did offer, we would educate them. I mean, they don't have to have a specific reason. If they just want to be full remote, they are full remote. Okay.
Correct. And there are other districts that put into place parameters that are different than that. They had to apply for it. They had to show the medical need and prove it before they were allowed to do full remote. Majority districts did not do that. We were included in those. We really feel, and I still do feel, that as long as they're holding up their end of effort and putting it in there, that the student choice, that's the issue, I think, is that we have a lot of student choice going on instead of parent choice going on. And I'm a big one of saying it, right? The parent's the customer and the child is the product. And if a child wants to stay home and not come to school, and it's not a COVID-related type of concern, and fear and anxiety is an avid concern, then we need to get back to the school-parent partnership and really take a look at what's best for the child. It may not be. It may be 100% of our remote learners are all COVID-related concerns. I don't know that, but I think we need to know that with the ones that are at risk. And then on the flip side, I see parents, you know, after 10 weeks posting their child has never done that well. And for the first time, they're on honor roll, and they're in a hybrid environment. You just don't know how it's going to impact. So it's going to be interesting to see the data, you know, on those things. So just to keep you, we'll keep that information flowing for you. Mental health and SEL resources, we've been discussing this heavily. Just to keep you up to speed, a couple things that we're working on. One is we're going to build a robust webpage for mental health and SEL resources. Right now, you can go to our website and you can't find anything on it regarding mental health resources and support. So we're going to rectify that, and we're going to be very robust, as well as a communication campaign of parent resources and assistance and things of what to be aware of with your child, and what are some things to be concerned with, not necessarily to the magnitude of mental health or suicide, but just things to be concerned about and things to keep up on as a parent resources. Mm-hmm. So we're building a plan for that. That's in development now, research and brainstorming. My thought is at the top, we have the buttons. We have district, Board of Education, athletics, parent resources. At the bottom, we have the one buttons. Athletics is at the bottom. Athletics, we're going to take off the top. Mm-hmm. It really shouldn't be a focal point anyway. Right. We have it down here, and we'll put mental health, SEL resources as a tab. So it'll be right in front.
You mentioned parents. Are we going to have student resources as well?
The parent, yes, it'll be for parent and students.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're working on, I had mentioned we're looking for a presentation. I've got a reach out across the region. If anybody knows of anything that you've heard about, please send it my way so we can take a look at it. It's a little bit different when you have a virtual environment. It's not as easy to do, especially when we have some that are full remote right now, and we want to reach all. So, but we're looking into it and taking a look at it. We're in the final stages of establishing a satellite office for the Delaware County Department of Mental Health here at the middle school, high school. That was started last year, I believe, in the spring.
Yes. When
Larry worked through that, and it is being established. We're in the final stages of getting it established. So we'll have a professional on site at least one day a week.
What about the contacts? Because our New York State School Boards Association training had a lot of virtual meetings on mental health. And there was one gentleman, I don't recall his name right now, but maybe we could reach out to New York State School Boards and see if any of those professors might be interested in doing something like that. for
Yeah,
our district.
depending on how, students versus parents, so we'll see, because we can always see what kind of, if they've done it before, we can see what the references are,
Right.
and vet them. So, no, it's a good, thank you for that. That's all I have.
All right. We do have a need, were there any questions on it? We do have a need for an executive session for the purpose of discussing matters relating to litigation and the future employment of a particular person. You don't expect any decisions?
No.
Okay. So do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Move it.
Second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And at this time, we will be entering executive session. The board will not be taking any action after executive session other than to adjourn the meeting. So I will ask in advance, do we have a motion to return to general session and adjourn?
I'd make that motion.
Paul, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right.